what I'm going to be using for the rear diff and the rear hydraulics. And if you have a Ford, what you're looking for is, it's going to be right here where it says Ford New Holland. And for my application, it's going to be the 134D. So this is that it is equivalent for it and that it will work with it. So you want to make sure that you check the back of it and make sure that it works with what your tractor requires. And then you just go from there. What we're working on today is we're going to replace the rear diff fluid, and we're also going to be replacing our rear hydraulic fluid, which is going to be right in here. For me, this is going to be the fill hole. We're going to take this off just using a wrench, and then for our rear diff, this is going to be the fill hole, and right here is going to be the check bolt for the rear diff. And then we're going to get under it here, and I'll show you guys the drain plugs for those. Now with these tractors, they're all broken down into sections. So you'll have a section for the rear diff, a section for the rear hydraulics here. You have a section for that, and then you'll have a section for the transmission up there by the gear shifter, and then you'll have another section for the engine oil, which will obviously be under the engine. So it shouldn't be too difficult. All you're going to need is just a basic wrench, drain pan, one that's going to hold, I would go with at least 2 gallons, that can hold at least that. I know the rear diff is going to hold, I believe it is 8 quarts. I'm not 100% on that, but I think from my research that's what it is, 8 quarts. I'm not sure about the rear hydraulic, but that one does have a dipstick to actually be able to check the level, so I'll be able to utilize that. And then once I figure that out, I'll go ahead and let you guys know. But we have a check bolt here, so we're just gonna fill it up until it starts trickling out. So that's pretty easy. But I went ahead and I got a 5-gallon bucket, so we'll have plenty. All right, so now we're under the rear of the tractor. And as you can see, I got a pretty good leak. And that's coming from right here on the axle. It is a pretty good leak, and it is getting a little worse, but you know, it's not bad enough to where I need to worry about it right now, because this is a lot of work to take all of this off, and to take these massive tires off, it's a lot of work. So I'm not worrying about it too much right now, but it is something I'm gonna have to tend to. So what we're looking for, is right next to this plate, right on the bottom, you're gonna have your rear diff. The drain plug is gonna be right here. It's gonna be right here. Mine's all covered in dirt. Yours probably will be too. Maybe, I don't know. But this is gonna be your rear diff. This is gonna be your hydraulics, the rear hydraulics. So do not get the two mixed up. Right here, down the middle somewhere, there is a split that keeps the two compartments from each other. But I'm going to be using the same fluid in the rear diff as I am with the hydraulics. So if that seal was to ever go bad and the two fluids mix, it'll be perfectly fine, because it's going to be the same fluid. It's a universal tractor fluid that can be used with hydraulics, transmissions, and the rear end, so it'll be perfectly fine. So I'm going to go ahead and loosen this one now, and we're going to go to drain it. All right, got that loose. It's kind of in a crummy area, so you can't just spin it around. sure I have my pan ready. We're gonna let that drain. While that's draining, I'm actually gonna go up top and I'm gonna open up the fill plug. So you don't need a lot, you just need just a little tiny bit around the edge here. That's just to make sure that water doesn't get in there for future. It's not gonna leak or anything. I just wanna make sure that if it ever rains and I don't have a tarp over it or in the garage, water doesn't get through there. You need to apply it while it's still a little wet. That way when you're tying it on, this is all gonna get ruined. So I mean, it doesn't really matter how it looks, because as you're turning it, this gasket maker is not really meant for caps like this when they turn. So once you're twisting it on, this is all gonna get ruined anyway, so it really doesn't matter how it looks. But once it's on, leave it like that, you know, don't touch it. That way once you remove it, you're gonna have to redo this again, or you'll have to buy the gasket to actually put it on. All right, so now we're done draining. We're gonna go ahead and remove the check bolt here, and we're gonna go ahead and fill it back up. Picked up this thing for a couple bucks. Just gonna go ahead and clean this up, clean around the edge here. This thing doesn't look too pretty, so who knows, it might get restored later on down the road of its life, but right now it's not. Right now it's a workhorse. All right, so it's kind of trickling out now. It's not coming out as fast, so I'm gonna give it just a little tiny bit longer, and then we're just going to clean up the area and then put the check bolt back in. All right, so if you're only servicing the rear end, that's it. As soon as it starts just trickling, a slow trickle out, then it's full. You just tighten up the bolt, clean up the area, and you're all done. You just put the filler cap back on, and then you'll be all done with that. I'm going to go ahead and move over to the rear hydraulics now, and I'm going to go ahead and swap out that fluid as well. All right, so now we're going to move over to the hydraulic system. So it'll be right here. I'm going to take off the filler cap. All right, you see this one actually has a little gasket on it, so that's okay. And it's not a pressurized system, so, well, not inside this space anyways. So that'll be all right. Right here we have the dipstick. See, it's right at the top of that full line. So I'm gonna go ahead and just fill it back up until it reaches that, and then we'll check the hydraulic system properly after I fill it back up. And we do that by using the hydraulics here, lifting it up to the fully extended position. And then coming back while the tractor is running, and the hydraulics in the rear are the 3-point system. The 3-point system, once that's fully extended, then we go ahead and pull this dipstick out and make sure that it's still within that full level. This one is your hydraulic system, so I'm going to go ahead and pull this one off now.
Actually, doesn't look that bad. It actually looks pretty clean. You can see right through it. Huh. I was expecting it to be pretty dirty.
So what I'm basically trying to do right now is I checked where the fluid level reached on here before I drained it. So what I'm trying to do is just get it back up to that same level. And that should, you know, it was working fine before, so as long as I get it right where it was at before, then it'll be fine. But what I'm going to do after is, once I'm done, right here it says to extend all the cylinders of the hydraulic system, and then the fluid should be within this level, and if it is, then you're good. So once I get it up to where it was before, then I'm going to run the tractor and make sure that it falls within that. Alright, now that it's all done, I'm going to go ahead and remove this. We're going to put the filler cap back on, and then you're all done. Go ahead and run it. And if you find that after you swap out your fluid and you're having problems with your 3-point hitch, where you didn't have that problem before, then you may need to purge the system. There may be some air in the system. It's highly unlikely, but it does happen. Thanks guys. If you want to see more tractor videos, hit subscribe and let me know.